Thank you. Is the Minister looking to respond at this point? Understood. Are there further speakers? Ms. Sue Higginson?
Thank you, Mr. President. I begin by acknowledging that we are having this debate on the unceded land of the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation, and I pay my respects to their elders, past and present. Given the debate we are having this morning, I would also like to acknowledge the Widjabul people on whose country I live and work, and the Bundjalung and Githibal Nandual nations, who have a deep and enduring connection to Wollumbin, a connection that is older than the earliest signs of Western democracy. This country always was and always will be Aboriginal land. With this in mind, Wollumbin is not ours and it does not belong to us. We cannot speak for how it should be treated, and we here in this place should not seek to interfere or politicise the ongoing discussions amongst traditional custodians about the future of this culturally significant site. On behalf of the Greens, I will not speak to this matter of public importance for too long, but we do not support any exercise of this most colonial of institutions that seeks to encourage division further among the First Nations people that are responsible for their culture and their cultural sites. It is a genuine exercise in arrogance to assume that any First Nations person needs intervention from this institution or any white saviours. It is deeply troubling that casual and paternalistic racism is still so prevalent amongst people who have a responsibility to understand the diverse electorate that we all sit and stand here on behalf of. The matter of public access to Wollumbin, the name of the site that this MPI refers to, has a complex history, and a history that is steeped in the genocide that was perpetrated by this state against the First Nations of this country. The genocide was conducted by means of murderers, dispossession, erasure of identity, destruction of culture, and forced removals of children from their kinship groups. It was and is a disgusting and abhorrent crime committed against people that this debate is seeking once again to speak on behalf of without full consent. The discussion and disagreements between traditional custodians on the subject of Wollumbin are entirely theirs to have. It is their trauma and recovery to share. It is their decision to reach. I understand that genuinely well-meaning people may have been approached by individuals and families involved in those discussions with requests to help, or perhaps even to pick a side. As non-First Nations people, it is not for us to take those sides, and it is not appropriate for us to push and elevate some voices above others, especially if it will cause further division and is an already fiercely contested debate. It does not harm us or New South Wales, its environment or people to allow the discussion between traditional custodians of Wollumbin to proceed at whatever pace is best for them to have it. It costs us nothing to trust that their site is for them to talk about and not for us to demand an outcome at our convenience. I have been lucky enough in my life to be close to some of the key protagonists in the reclaiming of native title and culture in the Northern Rivers. They were not necessarily perfect like all of us, and they were flawed and deeply human, but they were also attempting to recover something that was actively and brutally taken from them, something that is greater and more ancient than any of us here. It is important at this point to remind us that all First Nations people who have worked to protect country for the last 236 years have done so within a brutal colonial white legal system based upon the construct and lie of terra nullius. And here in New South Wales, to some extent, it is still very much alive and continues to do significant harm to all involved. I have seen this firsthand and in acute settings when I have represented First Nations elders and advocates in courts across New South Wales who have fought against the government, mining corporations, quarrying companies and developers to protect their country and their cultural heritage. I have seen firsthand how it involves all manner of brutality, violence and deep direct, indirect and structural racism. I have seen the violence caused by these systems and structures, and that it can be lateral violence where First Nations families and communities are forced to painfully fight each other. It is a system that still speaks to deeply racist values of stones and bones and ownership and hierarchy and harm and desecration and destruction. It is cruel, brutal, and it creates division and ill health to First Nations people. And here in New South Wales, we still don't even have standalone cultural heritage laws administered by First Nations people, even though First Nations people have been saying this is what is required, along with treaties, for decades and decades and decades. So we need to get out of the way. And more than just that, we need to clear the way for the discussions that are occurring to go on and any healing to occur if possible. I know that there are people here today that want an outcome, a decision that they can hold on to. To this, the object of this matter of public importance does not have a resolution. It is an opportunity to raise and express positions only. For the Greens, intervention in self-determination and resolution between traditional custodians and cultural divergences is something that should only be undertaken when a clear, unambiguous request is made, and at that point should be taken with the greatest care and humility in the most culturally appropriate way before the law, and we are referring there, of course, to LORE, of those that request it. It is absolutely important that we don't continue to tread with our brutal giant boots, and that we tread lightly and gently, and we pave the way, we facilitate the path, we move back and we make the space for First Nations people to determine their future and what happens to their country.